Comet A6 Lemmon and Comet R2 SWAN, two naked eye comets on episode 506 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Kirsten, joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up the night sky, and this podcast is for anyone, especially those who like to go out and look at comets. We have an urgent message, Shane. Do,
We
do,
do.
do, do.
Yeah, we need Phil
Yeah,
with the,
no,
the ticker.
yes.
Yeah, we're releasing this episode a little bit out of order. Um, and that's because these comets are quite timely. So
Hmm.
episode 505 will come out next week, but we're going to do 506 today about these two bright comets, which is amazing because at the start of the year and for most of this year, we have reported there's nothing to be excited about on the comet front, and then all of a sudden
Hmm.
these two pop up. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I was chatting with Alistair Ling from Astronomy Magazine, and he does the What's Up section for like the sky each month, and then I think he did one for like the whole year, and was mentioning how he had mentioned one or both of these comets as being like potential 10th magnituders, but they've become unexpectedly bright,
Hmm.
which is pretty exciting. I was up. People should know I was up observing till late last night. So I'm a little bit dragged out, Shane.
Yeah, no problem.
So this is like another set of bright comets. If you recall last year,
Hmm.
we had two comets, A3 Shushan Atlas and S1 Atlas, which was a sun-grazing comet that passed perihelion in October, then disintegrated. But um, they were brighter, being in and around like second, third magnitude kind of thing, and I took a look at them. But I mean, boy, they were flash in the panners, and I don't think they were really visible at the same time, and they were real horizon huggers.
Hmm. They were
Um,
difficult to get from our location for sure.
yeah, yeah, I spent a few nights on them, but yeah, they were tough. I forget which one was pretty bright. I got it between like it was cloudy here and it was so bright I could see it through the clouds, which was astounding. Um, but even the next night it had faded by several magnitudes. It was just really bright one night and then it was fairly bright on subsequent nights, but it kind of retired pretty quick. These ones are a little different. I mean, boy, it's hard to kind of compare because those ones last year were like I said, real flash in the panners. So you kind of had to get out and observe, and you really could only do them with binoculars or if you set up a telescope in a very particular location, which I did. Um, but like I couldn't get them from anything in my observatory because they were below the walls of the observatory, Shane. They were right in the weeds. So you're looking through
Hmm.
all kinds of atmospheric junk and everything.
Yeah, almost impossible really to get a good view from here. Whereas
Yeah.
Lemon or Lemon is quite a bit higher, I think, is it not?
Oh,
Or high
yeah.
enough, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I didn't even quite realize how high it was going to be. So we've got these two comets, C/2025 A6 Lemmon, Lemmon, and Comet C 2025 R2 Swan, and currently visible at the same time, naked eye in the sky, less than 90 degrees apart in the sky, simultaneously. And I stress that because I don't think that has ever happened in our lifetimes that we've had two naked eye comets visible in the sky at the same time, Shane. I don't recall this happening.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, nothing really jumps into my mind.
Yeah, like last year was the closest, and I believe both those comets were kind of sort of available in the same 24-hour span. I think one was in the evening, one was in the morning, but they definitely weren't naked eye within the same 24-hour period, although I could be wrong. But regardless, they weren't in the sky at the same time, naked eye. I can tell you that. They just weren't. And then I did a little bit of history digging to try to figure out how rare this is. Seems like it's about a once in a century event, Shane. So people should get out and look at this. I'm stressing this because oddly enough, I've seen the media make bigger deals out of much lesser impressive comets and also much less impressive comets. But going back into the 1500s, Comet Halley and the Great Comet of 1531. They were visible in 1531. And again, Comet Halley and the Great Comet of 1618, just after the invention of the telescope. And I think the same year that the Orion Nebula was discovered, or give or take. And the Great Comet of 1811 and Comet Pons Brooks were visible there just over 200 years ago. And then again in the previous century, in 1910, we had the great January comet or
Hmm.
comets and Halley's Comet visible. So typically it's been happening when I think it's Comet 1P, Halley's Comet. So it's a very frequently returning comet, comes every 77 years or so. And then we do get bright comets periodically. And when that occurs, when Comet Halley is in the sky, then you get two comets that you can see naked eye. But what's happening here is like I said, somewhat unusual. And they're not as bright as like Halley's Comet or perhaps some of these other comets, but you can see them naked eye. And Mike and I did that just last night. So pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm just seeing, it looks like Hale Bop and how do you say this other one? Hale?
Hakataki?
Hakataki, were they briefly overlapped,
Ah,
but very briefly, as naked eye comets. That would have been quite the sight, actually. But yeah, like it's exceptionally rare to have this. It's exceptionally, well, I shouldn't say exceptionally, but it is rare just to have one naked eye comet in the
yes.
sky. Never
Yeah.
mind two. So it's quite the
Yeah.
treat.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about because Hakataki like came close to Earth. That's why it was so bright. And then it was a year later that Hale Bopp. So I wonder, and like the way they were going, maybe they were because Hale Bopp did go into the Southern Hemisphere for a while. So that
Yeah,
might have been a Southern
it was late
Hemispheric event.
96, early 97 when they overlapped. Yeah.
And Naked Eye?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it says
Huh.
here.
Well, I'm kind of surprised at that. It must have been Hack Attack must have just been barely because I watched that one Naked Eye for a long time and I don't recall it going Naked Eye that long. But anyway, sometimes that happens. But yeah, so if it's happened in our lifetimes, then it was like 30 years ago or almost. So there you go. This is a rare event. So let's see. Comet A6 Lemmon is non-periodic, discovered by the Mount Lemmon Sky Survey on January 3rd this year, so very early in the year. And this has an orbit chain of over 1,000 years, 1,150 years,
Holy.
plus or minus. Yeah. So closest approach is going to be on Tuesday.
Okay.
October 21st. And again, it wasn't expected to get so bright. I mean, being that it's more than a millennia since it last was here, there was very little data on this comet, and so it was just not known how bright or not it could possibly be. So currently, it's in Canis Venatici, just below the handle of the Big Dipper. Actually, it's really easy to find. You know how we say you go from the handle of the Big Dipper and you arc to Arcturus?
Hmm.
Well, it's just right between the handle of the Big Dipper and Arcturus. It couldn't be in an easier spot for novice stargazers to find. And it's also pretty bright. Magnitude estimates are well into the fourth magnitude. So 4.8 being about the faintest one I've seen, and I've seen people rating it as bright as fourth. I mean, we were able to see it naked eye before it was even dark, but it is very star-like with a little bit of fuzz to the unaided eye. I'm going to say that.
Hmm. It is in a great place of the sky to locate because there's not a lot of like dense, bright stars in that area. So you can find it quite easily.
Hmm. And so we had a look. We I came out and had been having a little trouble with the observatory track and so my observatory technician was up and replaced the track on my roof because I had called him in a panic to see if he would do it so that I could observe the comets. And he obliged. He was going to come look at them, but I think he was too tired after doing it. So
Um,
anyway, we were able to observe in the 7 inch. So it was a real treat to be able to do that. And I gotta say, this Comet A6 Lemmon, it's it's about the most spectacular little comet that I've seen, Shane. I've seen lots of little bright comets, but this one has something special. It's got quite a bit of detail to it.
Yeah, your sketches are quite outstanding with what you're able to pull in.
Yeah. So what I did is came out and got things prepped in the observatory to run with, all the power cabling and blah blah blah, and then Mike showed up at about 7 just as I was finishing dinner, and then yeah, we were running just after a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and I mean literally I had barely hit the power switch when Mike had it in his 15 by 50 binoculars, and like I said, at first I wasn't sure if I would even be able to see it from the observatory. I thought maybe we'd be setting up a scope outside, but no, I mean we could see it. It was pretty high up, about 30 or so degrees, maybe a little bit higher. And just because of the way that it was moving and the way that it was sort of transitioning through the sky as the Earth rotated, we were able to watch it for over 2.5 hours. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to do some real observing to see as much structure as possible.
Yeah. And even in twilight, we could see a huge bright coma. Coma was about 10 arc minutes. So pretty big coma on this one. And you could, well, at first it was just bright and large and fuzzy. Um, can't really compare it to anything else that I've really seen. It had this very sort of almost bluish green white hue to it. And the coma is extremely large in a telescope. And we used powers from 28 magnification, 64, 108, 154. Might have even tried 208 on this too. But anyway, the coma is huge, and it has an exceptionally bright short tail that runs about a degree and a half. Um, but then as the sky grew darker, the tail just continued to extend, and I was lucky because it was in sort of the darkest region of the sky here to the northwest. And with my binoculars, eventually, once it was totally dark, I could scan back and forth, and hadn't seen any reports that it's this long, but I was getting it at about 4 degrees in length for that tail, just in the 12 by 36 image stable binoculars. It was basically almost the entire field of view. So,
Wow, yeah, that's huge. Incredible tail.
yeah. In the 7 inch, it was just stunning. Like I just could never tire of calling it in because we were able, like after we had a little observation on this, we were going just back and forth between the two comets for, like I said, some hours, and the core was just exceptionally bright. And as we observed, you could see this detail where there was a very tight nucleus, and then to me, I could see like a bit of a dark ring or partial ring around it, and then another bright area, and then like there was visible structure to that nucleus, or coma, which I was really excited to be able to pull in.
Hmm. 7 inch just keeps on providing amazing views and almost the ideal telescope probably for for a comet. Enough aperture, but yet, with that shorter focal length, enough field of view to really start taking it in.
Yeah, like with the 40, we spent a lot of time just with the 28x 40 millimeter 70 degree, which gives a 2.5 degree field of view. Like I said, the primary features of this were about a degree and a half in length, so a good size. But that's well framed in that field of view. But as it grew completely dark, I mean, we could put the comet in the top of the field, and that tail went right through the whole field. I should have, but I didn't scan down in the telescope. I just went out with the binoculars and scanned around, and we used Mike's 15 by 50s as well. So, a couple hours goes by pretty quick when you have these bright comets in the sky for only a short period of time.
Yeah, 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 for sure. In any night of good observing seems to disappear far too quick.
Mm. Hmm. And yeah, like I said, these details only visible once it was completely dark and I'm at about a magnitude. It was really good at the start of the evening. It did get soft, and we did get some aurora coming up. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
magnitude 6.3, 6.4.
I was gonna ask you about the aurora because the forecast for the KP index was, I think, almost 5 for midnight, which that's starting to become brighter aurora.
Yeah.
But you never know how much of the sky it'll occupy and what it will really do. So it's always a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, and there was a little bit. And then, like I said, I observed the whole for like the whole time till about 10:30, except for a short break. And then we packed it in around 10:30, maybe quarter to 11, something like that.
Hmm.
But we'd been going since 7. So that's a good long observing session, really 3 solid hours
Yeah.
plus a break, maybe a little bit longer even. But regardless, that aurora was kicking up pretty good. I had to go back up to get my sketchbook, which I left outside. Didn't want to get wrecked. But yeah, when I went back up, I could see giant pillars in that forming. So I'm like, yeah, I even half thought about rolling the observatory open again and maybe getting another view of some deep sky objects. But I went against it. But this comet, I'll tell you, people can see it with their naked eye from a dark sky. From the city, you'll see it mostly as a star through your binoculars, but it's pretty bright. If you have a good star chart, should be able to see it. But I think it's worth getting outside the cities and getting to a dark sky location so you can see that tail. Because even in the little binoculars, it just is such a pretty little, it just looks like a mini comet. Is exactly what it looks like. I guess it's exactly what it is. And then if you can put any kind of telescope on it at all, might be able to see some detail.
Hmm. Very cool.
Yeah, ion tail streaking right out the middle of it, kind of sort of, and then you can see like some of the dust tail as it's floating away in the solar wind. I tried to kind of capture, I was sort of altering my sketch as time went on because this comet is moving fast through the sky. Um, it's going to start transitioning, going across into some of the other constellations here as time goes on. I think I put that towards the end of my notes here somewhere. Maybe it didn't make it in. Oh yeah, currently it's at its brightest October 20th, 21st, and it passes from uh, where it's now in Canis Venatici to Boots, and then passes through a small piece of Hercules and maybe another constellation or so, and over in Ophiuchus eventually. But it's going to dim down after this week, and here we are in a new moon period. So that this is a pretty cool opportunity for people to get out, and it's in the evening, and like we did all this observing and we're done well before 11 o'clock. So that's super convenient as well, and it's not crazy cold yet. We were observing and it was just +1, so we were bundled up and ready for it, so it wasn't any problem. There was a little bit of wind, but people can
Hmm.
still get out and take a look at these.
Yeah, and just as you were talking, it kind of made me realize too, again, just how great this opportunity is. Not only is there two naked eye comets, but their brightest point in their, I guess, journey through the solar system right now is happening during new moon.
Mm,
We have early, at least up here in the north, we have earlier sunsets, so it gets dark early enough to catch these things. Like everything is lining up for us to actually be able to observe this stuff. And again, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, they're brightest during full moon or, you know, uh, not really visible until after sunset,
hmm.
or barely visible after
Yeah,
sunset and then
yeah.
gone. So everything is just ideal right now.
And that's kind of what we ran into last year, where those comets were up for such a short period of time. They were
Mhm.
up during the full moon period. I think maybe one of them even had its peak brightness at full moon. Because I
Yeah.
remember standing out here on my deck, having a lineup of people to come through and look at it, and the moon was just like I was literally having to get somebody to stand behind us to try to help block the moonlight. It was so bright once it came around the corner of my cabin. So Yeah, this set of comets being here at new moon and as well long enough, like I said last year, they were flash in the pans. They were up and visible for such a short period of time, for just days, not even a week. Whereas here, like people have been looking at them for some days, maybe even some weeks now, some folks, and now they're at their brightest. And they're kind of going to be here for about a week. I think people have a shot at looking at these. I followed their paths and. Um, Lemmon A6 is pretty much staying at about that same altitude, more or less. It's going to come down a little bit here over the next week, but not very much. It's just more or less moving in a track that takes it somewhat south, but really it's more of a like a left direction than a down direction. And because it is getting darker and darker in the northern hemisphere anyway, each evening, it sort of compensates for any downward motion that it has.
Mm, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. So then moving on to R2 SWAN. Now, I'll say this off the top. Comet C/2025 R2 SWAN is not quite as impressive, but this comet was discovered on September 11th. So it was only discovered about 5 or 6 weeks ago, Shane.
That's wild.
Yeah. So this is like a brand new thing that nobody ever even, heard of before. The other comet was discovered 9 or 10 months ago, but this one is just like 6 weeks old as far as discovery goes. In the SOHO SWAN camera images, and SOHO is the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, which is a joint project between the European Space Agency and NASA, and was launched. It's a satellite. It was launched in 1995 to study the sun, positioned at Lagrange point L1, but 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, and people do use it to spot comets, but mostly it's used for forecasting solar storms. But somebody picked it up, just looking at images. The comet is just brighter than magnitude 6. Sources online say 6, some say 5.6. I would have put it at about 5.5 myself. I didn't do like a magnitude estimate for a variety of reasons. It's pretty big, so sort of tough to do it. It kind of has a very bright core, and then it has like a slightly fainter outer shell, which is fairly bright, and then it has sort of a large gossamer thing, and then this tiny little tail, which we didn't see the tiny tail, at least I didn't. Closest approach for C/2025 R2 SWAN is October 20th as well.
Hmm,
So this kind of
amazing.
blows me away that we have these two comets that are pretty much getting to their closest point to Earth on or about the same day.
No
It's,
kidding. It's
yeah,
unreal.
has an orbit of 654 years, plus or minus 70 years, because they just don't know that much about it yet, and there's like some sort of pixel error in forecasting these sort of things, and it just hasn't been around long enough to get a good fix on its orbit as far as how long that orbit is. But in general, your astronomy planetarium software will do it. Keep it pretty much in your field of view. I know because I was doing that last night. Mike and I saw it naked eye as a brighter spot, pretty much of Milky Way, or maybe just off the Milky Way. It's just to the left or east of M16, the Star Queen or Eagle Nebula, as most people would know it as. But I got to say, to my eye, it was quite a bit brighter than both M17 and M16, which to me I can kind of sort of see as brighter spots. And this just looked like yet another brighter spot up there. So just looking around, you wouldn't pick it out. You'd say, okay, it's just more Milky Way up there, but like that spot, and we would look at it and then put the binoculars up. That's where that comet was in an otherwise reasonably rich star field, which may or may not have a star cloud in it. I don't know, but tomorrow night or even tonight, I think it moves off a good distance from that rich star field and starts to sort of move into the quote unquote autumn sky and should have another week on it, Shane. Like even next
Oh,
weekend,
wow.
I think these should still be fairly good. I don't know how long. I mean, these are unpredictable. They weren't predicted to be this bright. I don't know how long they will be naked eye for, but I think at least for the next few nights, unless they dim faster than they brightened, I think people will have a shot. maybe even into the weekend. But I think that'll be it. I think we'll get another week out of these comets reasonably bright, and then yeah, we'll probably start to dim down. But who knows? Who knows what'll happen? They're comets; they can do what they want.
So true. Yeah, yeah. Well,
All
the only
right.
thing to do is just get out there and look.
Yeah, so the SWAN observations, it was visible as the sky grew dark. So it had to be really dark for us to see it versus Lemmon, we could see even just as it was getting dark.
Hmm.
Like I said, a little brighter than M16, M17. Made it look like a third edition to this Messier group, kind of as you had your binoculars up there and were scanning around. Wasn't as close to M16. Like some people were saying, it was sort of like a pass to M16, but it was reasonably far, at least when we were observing it. Appeared like a bright spot in the Milky Way, and sensed it was out around. I couldn't really get the tail. The tail is sort of this funny little rat tail kind of thing, almost like a Texas tie, if you know what a Texas tie looks
Mm-hmm.
like.
Yep.
Um,
A bolo tie.
a bolo tie. There you go. Very, very bright nucleus. And yeah, we could see it like meandering amongst the stars because it's in such a rich star field. You
Hmm.
could almost see it passing in front of the stars as you watched the comet, which was pretty cool. And the coma is very large, almost half again as large as the as Comet Lemmon. So it sort of lacks as much impressive detail. I'll say that, but it is larger in the sky, but a fair bit fainter because a comet that's high fifth, maybe sixth magnitude is quite appreciably fainter than a fourth magnitude comet. I mean, and that's kind of a neat thing to see to be able to actually like this really builds a lot of cometary observing experience for those that are new to this game because you can go out and look at these very different comets basically as fast as you can turn about 85 degrees in the night sky. They're less than 90 degrees apart. It only took the telescope like, however many seconds to slew to them. So we were just slewing back and forth with the telescope, going back and forth with binoculars and just getting as much observing as we can. Currently, it's leaving Scutum, cuts right across a bunch of boundary lines from the boundary line of Sagittarius and Aquila. I think it cuts through another boundary line, and then Capricornus and Aquila as well, and then I think Aquarius or something like that. So fairly high. Like it was much higher than we thought. Again, like I was pretty sure. Well, I knew I would be able to get it based on where it was, but we were able to observe it in the observatory for almost 3 hours.
Hmm.
And Mike held it till about 10:30 with his binoculars, just outside of the observatory. So yeah, they were pretty good comets to be able to see in the sky at the same time. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. Just a great night by the sounds of it.
Yeah, yeah. And did you say you tried to see them from the city with your binoculars?
I just had a quick look naked eye at Lemon. That was it.
And
Sorry?
and did you have any luck?
Oh, yeah, it was just very stellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nothing special naked eye from the city, but was able to locate it.
Nice.
Hmm.
Nice. Yeah, and that's probably what people are going to get. And in fact, in the photos, I had trouble, like took some cell phone shots. I had trouble figuring out where it was because it really just looked like another star. And then if you zoomed in, you could kind of sort of see the tail. It just sort of looked like a streak. And I think you probably, if knowing that now, I bet you, and sadly, I don't think it's going to be clear tonight, but if you look again tonight, knowing that, then you probably would be able to notice that, yeah, that's actually not like a reflection in the binoculars or something in my eye. It's actually a tail. Because it took me a while to sort that out, even being in a dark sky with other optics going here. That took me quite a while to kind of sort out here, maybe 15 or 20 minutes that yes, that indeed was the tail. And then when it got quite a bit darker, then yeah, you could really see the tail in the binoculars. So I think probably you'd be able to get it there, Shane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely be out. You know, probably not tonight. It doesn't look very good condition wise, but see what Monday, Tuesday bring, and even Wednesday, Thursday. Really, just kind of keep an eye on it and see how it goes.
Eye on. I got it. Funny joke.
Mm.
And while observing, people should take a look out for the Orion meteors. Orionids.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
they're peaking. They're from Comet Halley, of course,
Hmm.
and we saw a ton of them last night. My wife came up to look for a while and was able to like she just was like waiting to look through the eyepiece while I got one of the comets in the field of view again, and then we had one and I saw just not even really looking for comets. Mostly we were just looking through the telescope or trying to do sketches or whatever. And then, but yeah, over the course of the evening, I saw maybe three or four really bright ones and three or four other ones. And I know Mike did as well, different ones than I saw. So we were getting quite a few meteors coming in and they were very bright. I saw, like I said, a few that had ionization tails left in the atmosphere for 2 or 3 seconds. So people should be on the lookout for those as well.
Hmm.
Well, that's sort of my my report. It's so funny doing these in a way because I know when we were first talking about doing the podcast, I was really amped about doing observing and then doing a podcast just after observing. But I always feel like these are my worst podcasts because I was observing and get pretty tired after having done that and doing a lot of work at the telescope with the sketching. So yeah, it's always kind of funny to try to put my thoughts together. I was up this morning at like 5 a.m. trying to put these into some sort of semblance of notes.
No, all good.
Good stuff. All right. So people should go take a look at these, I guess is the only thing I can say. Try to get out to some dark sky sites and yeah, there's some good detail in these, but I think this will be it though. We'll get about a week here, folks, and then be on to other things, I hope.
Hmm. Hmm.
Good stuff. Anything to add, Shane?
That is all.
All right, please subscribe, share the show with other stargazers you know. Send us your show ideas, observations, and questions to actualastronomy@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.